Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So recently I went out to go see the new installment of the Transformers franchise called Rise of the Beasts. Now I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not the biggest hardcore Transformers fan out there. My first exposure to the Transformers franchise was the Michael Bay's first Transformers movie. And at the time when I watched the first one, I loved it at the time. I was in 15 when that film came out. I watched it over and over again at the drive-in and even in the theaters. I fell in love with the film. I loved what Michael Bay had done at the time. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon were great at the time. And I did drink the Kool-Aid when I saw those movies. And now looking back on the sequels, it did not hold up. It was complete garbage. I mean, Dark of the Moon was slightly better than Revenge of the Fallen, but it's not saying much. It's still a terrible movie. And I thought the first one, looking back at it now, years later, it just did not age well. It's still an okay movie for what it was, but it's still not a great film. And then I was very hyped with Age of Extinction, and it looked like they were about to change gears with new characters and new story, and the trailers sold me. I'm not gonna lie, I thought the trailers were fantastic, but then I was duped when I saw this movie, and it was a 3-hour film that I will never get back. It was completely garbage from beginning to end, a characters that I did not care for, the dialogue was awful, and not even the jokes were funny. The visuals were crap, the action was garbage, it was just explosion that was just thrown in your face, and the Autobots and Decepticons, the fight scenes between them, you couldn't even know what the hell was going on. It was just metal clinging on metal, it was just visual noise, and there was a bunch of product placements that was just completely thrown in your face that they just couldn't stop. It was endless, and it just leaves you at the end of the film with a big migraine. And I was not going to be fooled again when they were going to do The Last Night, because I know that Michael Bay was directing it, and it just looked like he just doesn't care about the franchise, and he just simply just came in here, cashing it in, doing the same shit that you see him do over and over again. It was just endless. He knew that as long as it was making money and it was going to get a lot of people into the theaters, it did not matter whether it was going to be good or bad. It was still going to be garbage regardless. And it made less money than Age of Extinction, and it was close to dying. The franchise was just almost gone. Until we heard that they were going to do a prequel spinoff to Transformers called Bumblebee, I was very nervous again. I feel like I was going to get duped. Then I found out that Michael Bay was not going to be behind the camera, and I was like, whew, thank God. And I heard that Travis Knight was going to be behind directing the film. Which Travis Knight is an unknown indie filmmaker. He's not a big household name, but he's best known of directing an animated stop-motion animation film called Kubo and the Two Strange, which I loved that movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you should check that out. It's a very underrated film that came out that year. It was definitely one of my favorite films that came out in 2016. I was really excited, especially with the trailers. It got me sold. It looked like they cared about making a good quality film, and it was going to win a lot of people back. And Haley Steinfeld was going to be the star of the film, and it was going to take a lot of influences from E.T. and Iron Giant. And coming out of Bumblebee, it was the best Transformers movie at the time, and I loved it. It's my favorite of the franchise, and I was looking forward to what they were going to do with Rise of the Beasts. And it looked like this was going to be more of a reboot of the franchise, and it don't look like they were going to try to connect to the Michael Bay's Transformers universe. And I found out that Travis Knight was not going to come back for the sequel. I was a little bummed because I loved what he did with Bumblebee. But then they went and got another unknown director named Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2, which I thought Creed 2 was great. It was an underrated sequel, which for me personally, it was fantastic. And I was looking forward to what he was going to do with Rise of the Beasts. They were going to have a brand new set of characters, and it was going to take place several years after the events of Bumblebee, and it was going to be in the mid-90s. And I thought the trailers were pretty decent, but it didn't blow my socks off. But I was still hoping for the best, and I found out that they were going to bring in the Maximals, who were going to be the ones teaming up with the Autobots to face a brand new threat that was going to wipe out the whole planet, and it was going to be Unicron that was going to be introduced, and then you're going to have Terracon, which I'm not familiar with the Maximals and the Terracons. I've heard that the Maximals were the ones coming off of the animated series called Beast Wars that came out, I believe, sometime in the 90s. I don't remember much watching that show, but I've seen some of the footages on YouTube, and I thought that the show itself is very outdated and didn't hold up as well. But I was still going to be open-minded of how they were going to be used in the film. After coming out of Transformers Rise of the Beast, I will say this is another enjoyable Transformers movie. It is a decent follow-up to Bumblebee. I thought that the human characters named Noah and Elena, I thought the two of them were great. I thought their arc really played out very well, and they were very self-caring. They served a purpose of why they want to go out on a quest with the Autobots and the Maximals and help save the world. And you really get where Noah's character is coming from. I love the Noah character, and it was played by Anthony Ramos, if I'm pronouncing his last name right. And in case you don't know who Anthony Ramos is, he's the same guy that was in the Heights movie, a musical film, which I thought he was great. My first exposure to him as an actor, I remember when I first saw him in a movie called A Star is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, which he did not have that big of a role, but I thought he was great in it. And seeing him in Rise of the Beast, I thought he was fantastic. I thought Mirage, which is voiced by Pete Davidson, was the best part of the movie. I thought the banter between him and Noah was great. I thought if they were, but at first I thought Mirage was going to annoy me, especially when it's voiced by Pete Davidson, which I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not the biggest fan of Pete Davidson, but I thought he was so well used in the film, and it was very well written, and I bought into the friendship between the two of them. I thought Optimus Prime was fantastic. I love how he was handled in the movie. Optimus Primal, which was voiced by Ron Perlman, was fantastic. I just wish that I wish that the Maximals had more screen time in the movie. I wish they would have focused a little bit more on the Autobots. I understand that they wanted to focus more on the humans a little bit, but I feel like they focused on them a little too much. I wish they would have trimmed it down a little bit and get to the point. But that's not enough to take me out of the movie. I thought that the introduction of Unicron was very terrifying, and it was great. Even though that Unicron was not in the film much, but I loved how he was handled. I thought the visual effects were outstanding. The action set pieces was incredible, especially in the last 20 minutes of the finale was pretty much a breathtaking to watch. It really added a lot of weight. It didn't just add the spectacle in that movie just for the sake of being a spectacle. It felt right, it had weight to it, it served the story. Now look, one of my negatives is that the plot is very generic, and it's something that we've seen many times before, but it didn't matter. As long as I care about the characters and I care about the stakes that they're in, that's very forgiving for me. And I thought that Scourge, which is voiced by Peter Dinklage, was so good. I just wish that the Terracons had a little bit more development in the film. But overall, this is definitely a worthy follow-up to the sequel to Bumblebee. This is a completely a standalone story with a little bit of acknowledgement to what happened in the previous film with Bumblebee. And it glosses over very quickly for a brief moment. But most people are not going to notice it for people out there that have not seen Bumblebee. And also, I will say that the soundtrack that they were playing, one of the greatest hits from the 90s, was very well done. It could have been very corny and very forced in, and it could have been misplaced, but no, it fits so well into the movie. They did a very well job of recreating the 90s era, and it didn't feel too modern. Overall, this is definitely my second favorite Transformers movie out there, and it's definitely one of the most enjoyable films I've seen this year. It's a great blockbuster ride from beginning to end, and I won't say that this is as good as Bumblebee, because I thought Bumblebee was a better film and a better story in my opinion, but it's definitely a good film that you should definitely go and watch on the big screen. And by the time you get to the mid-credit scene, they definitely tease what's going to happen for the future of the franchise. Now, it all depends on how well it's going to do at the box office, because if it doesn't do well and nobody goes out to see the movie, then the mid-credit scene would probably be pointless. I just hope that you guys go out and see it. I think you're going to have a good time if you're a Transformers fan, and you're just going to have a smile on your face and have a good time. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you've seen the film, what did you think of it? Did it live up to your expectations? Were you on the same boat as me? Or were you someone out there just were very disappointed and it just wasn't for you? Just jump down in the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos to come, and turn on the bell notifications so that you won't miss anything.